Foundation, and we are so excited to have you join us today for 365 days reflections from Otsego County. It's been a full year now since the pandemic unfolded, changing lives in dramatic and unforeseen ways. And we feel like some days around here we take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. Sometimes we take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but regardless, our community has been resilient, and we're just happy today to come together to talk about arts, culture, and recreation. As you can see, this is a series where we'll be looking at different areas around the community over 6 conversations. But we're going to kick it off with arts and culture. So just a couple housekeeping things, just so you kind of know what to expect. We're doing the welcome right now, and then the panel will introduce themselves. And then we'll cover 3 different topic areas. 1, challenges and solutions. 2, silver linings. 3, future outlook. And then as time allows, we will have questions and comments. If you have a question that you want to ask the panel, you can put it in the chat. Does everyone know? Is there anyone who doesn't know how to use the chat? Physically raise your hand if you don't know how to use the chat. Okay, so you'll be able to do that. But one thing we're going to do throughout this series is gather your thoughts throughout the conversations. And we're using something called Easy Retro. Amanda, can you put that link up again in the chat, please? So anytime throughout this conversation, if you click that link, or we'll click it right now, or I will click it. Let me just show you what maybe it won't let me show you. Anyways, if you click that link, it will take your computer to a screen that has each day labeled arts, culture, recreation, economic development, education, etc. And you just press the little plus button on the screen, and then you are able to record your comments. If you see other comments that you like, you can give it a thumbs up. So lots of, actually, let me see if I can do it from here. Sorry, thanks for being patient with us as our first. Okay, here we go. Let me just quickly show this to you. All right, so now you guys are seeing the Easy Retro screen. You're not? Well, it's really easy. If you click that link, it will take you to a screen. Even presenters, if you have thoughts, things that you learned today, things that you were surprised about, concerns, things like that, please press that link. And again, it's just a way for us to record your thoughts, so we can move on as a community. So quick little housekeeping things. Obviously, if you're not on mute, if you're not speaking, if you could please mute yourself. Submit questions using the chat feature like we talked about. And it looks like everyone's name is visible. Yep, we're good. And then we will be recording this, and we will send this out to you at the end of each week. So let's go ahead and get started. If the panel could introduce in the order we submitted yesterday. Kick it off with Lisa Marie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Marie Tobin, and I'm the Executive Director with Gaylord Area Council for the Arts. It's a pleasure to be here today.
My name's Tom Pratt. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for Otsego County.
My name is Bruce Udell. I am the Director of St. Mary Cathedral Players, and I am also a board member for the Gaylord Community Productions.
I'm Tony Sharkey from the Gaylord Bowling Center and Veterans Education Training and Support.
All right, so now let's dive into the day. Lisa Marie with the Gaylord Area Council for the Arts. Let's talk about the last 365 days, the challenges and solutions.
Okay, so where do I begin? Arts and culture really was one of the hardest hit industries with the shutdowns. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced specifically within our organization, and then I saw as I began to connect with others, is that how do you take programs and experiences that traditionally are expected to be done in person and continue to move forward in light of not being able to meet or gather. And I think that was probably the biggest challenge that we had in order to meet our mission and what we're all about. And really the answer came through technology, but that only compounded the challenges because first, does that mean I need to stop? I don't know what that noise was.
No,
Oh,
no,
I'm
we
sorry.
don't know.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
I'm sorry. So I think the biggest, and then it compounded the challenges in that first, as an organization, not knowing what you don't know about technology and all of the platforms and just everything that's going on. In addition to that, the capacity to bring in those technologies and the knowledge to how to use them, and then also to navigate each person's comfort level as it pertains to the use of technology, and then, infrastructure issues around all of that technology. So I think the biggest solution to that problem, and I like to put it this way, everybody says we need to think outside the box. No, we need to increase our box. So as humans, we like to put everything and structure everything in neat little boxes. And we're really good at this in the rural communities. And that means reaching out to all of the nonprofits. For example, the Otsego Community Nonprofit Exchange, just one example of a way that we were able to overcome a lot of these challenges by sharing information and sharing resources. And I really think that was
Recognize that
key
voice.
to that. That's kind of the biggest challenge. And I think that was the biggest solution. And I saw typically in the past, you get busy and attending the roundtables and these networking events got put on the bottom of the list. But I think we soon realized that this was going to be our number one way to overcome is by reaching out and supporting one another.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Tom Pratt. Challenges and solutions. Tom, you're on mute.
Sorry.
No
Sorry,
problem.
buddy. So I think the biggest challenge for the Parks and Rec Department here in Otsego County in the last year was trying to figure out ways to open all of our parks, especially the county park. Obviously, that is a highly used park for our community members and members of or just people in general. And so the biggest challenge, I came in at the beginning of June and obviously the park was still not open. And so trying to figure out how and when to open that park to allow our community members, along with anybody else that camps, to be able to get outside their house and enjoy the outdoors. And with that, the challenge was making sure that we're following all of these executive orders that were put in place. And, it took obviously some teamwork throughout the team here by just studying and reading up on these orders. It seemed like they were changing every week. So we had a plan, and then all of a sudden that plan would change. And, we finally found ways to be able to open it. And to be honest with you, it was probably our best. Well, we are on course to have a record-setting year at the county park financially. And so that was, I would say that was probably the biggest challenge, is just trying to find ways through these executive orders to open our parks to our community members. We were finally able to open the community center about a month ago, no, 3 weeks ago. And so now we have pickleball at the community center, volleyball, we have our play group, and we'll be starting a basketball league in April here. So these, as long as we're following all the protocols, obviously it does still make it a little challenging because, like I said, it seems like little things change here or there every week. But I would say that was our biggest challenge this year, is just trying to find ways to get our community members involved with our Parks and Rec, as on top of making sure we're following all of our protocols and executive orders that are put in place.
All right, Bruce, challenges and solutions for the Cathedral players.
Yeah, it was definitely a rough year. We were 3 days away from putting on our production of Clue on stage when we shut down last year. Actually, we were doing Benefactors Night that night, which for us, Benefactors Night is a huge source of our income to support Cathedral players. So watching the kids' faces as we basically told them it's not going to happen, guys, and seeing each one sort of crush a little bit, it is not an easy thing to watch from, a teenage perspective, let alone my own child in the show, watching her, who this is her life. I mean, she's not involved in athletics and that type of stuff. So theater is kind of her thing in her life. So watching each of them and seeing each of them go through their own basically form of grief for not being able to perform the show. Luckily, we did get to do it a couple times for the school on Friday before we closed down for almost a year. And then when school opened back up, we started to think that maybe we could do another show. So we produced Penny for Your Thoughts. And as we were getting ready to do that, we got the word yet again that we were shutting down essentially for the second time. And that was essentially the week before we were supposed to do that show. So that was supposed to happen in November. We eventually ended up performing Penny for Your Thoughts virtually. We did have some parents in an audience, but other than that, we basically live streamed it, which most people never thought of doing until Andrew Lloyd Webber started showing some of his shows, whether it was Joseph or whether it was Phantom, through Broadway Live. And we had the opportunity to watch some of those and to see how some of those things could be done. So Mount Carmel Center was gracious enough to lend us that performing space because the band over at St. Mary's ended up taking the multi-purpose room where we usually perform our shows. So we didn't have that area to use. So Mount Carmel Center let us use their area, and the law firm next door at the old rectory let us use their Wi-Fi in order to sort of go live with that. And I know Gaylord Community Productions were not able to put on Shrek, but we have been looking at some other things as well to perform Shrek this year. That is the goal still. And a lot of that depends on Gaylord Community Schools and the auditorium and what they're going to be allowing. And I know Laura and her group over at this Gaylord Drama Club has been experiencing a lot of the same things. So I think it's different when we as adults deal with some of these challenges. And I think each of us either have teens or are very close to teens who have been dealing with their own absolute set of challenges over the last year and a half. And to see those and realize what our childhood was like, and then to see them struggling through the last year and a half is a completely different thing. So those are some of the challenges, and hopefully some of the solutions going forward is a lot of the publishing companies are selling streaming rights or including streaming rights with your live performances. So
Cool. Tony. He's just getting unmuted. I can see that.
There we go.
There you
Mute
go.
is on. So, hey, I just wanted to start off by thanking the foundation for doing this. We've all heard that we're all going through this together, but our experiences are vastly different. And I think this kind of a forum is really important for everybody to be able to see and understand the impacts that are going on in other segments of the community that they may not be aware of. So 3 years ago, we took over the 50-year-old bowling center with a goal of helping veterans transition back into active members of the community, and save basically a recreational venue for the community at the same time. Give a perspective. Our facility is as big as a grocery store or the home improvement stores in town, with the added bonuses that we have a lot of permanent fixtures, features in the facility with expensive and aging equipment. So that's kind of the backdrop of where we start with. But bowling centers in general are small family-owned businesses, really tied into the fabric of the community. Schools, churches, nonprofit fundraisers, business team building events, all those kinds of things are what we are known for. Ourselves challenge really 3 areas. The biggest one, obviously, maybe not the biggest, but maybe not the most important, is the financial. In the course of the year, we've replaced 2 water heaters, 2 furnaces, had a walk-in cooler that had to go out. Really, literally tens on top of tens of thousands of dollars of unexpected expenses that we had to go and do, even though there was no revenue coming in. We had the challenges operationally of, hey, when you've got fixed features, how do you change that and make it socially distancing friendly? And we had some cool solutions to that, between actually coding software and changing it so that you could compete and spread people out farther than normally what you would traditionally think about bowling and how we put people on lanes. Physically, challenge that, hey, the facility is what the facility is, and there's it's built to have a hub, a brain of the whole operation, if you will, which means that's a place where people coalesce, gather. So we were challenged with, hey, what do you do there? And we ultimately tore down walls and reconfigured that space entirely from the ground up. Maybe the most important challenge, though, that we face is mental health. Because of our nonprofit mission and bringing veterans together, bringing the community together, first off, we were 180 degrees basically opposite of what the governor was telling us that we needed to be focused on because of COVID. So our mission and the response already 180 degrees opposite just from the start. But when you look at, even though we were focused, we got veterans with PTSD and all kinds of other, I want to say, mental issues that we're grappling with. And even though we're focused on the veterans, it's certainly not limited to veterans. We had staff that had to go through the horrible unemployment wickets that sometimes took months before they could see a paycheck. And I had more issues with suicide than I had with COVID deaths. You know, one of my bowlers, patrons, that put it in words, I think the best, in that coming into the center, and this is, I think, indicative of recreation and arts in general, is that it's where people go to find peace. And they, you know, it's as much as it is an internal individual thing, it's also very much a social together thing. We always say that, you know, people never go bowling alone. But you know, how you dealt with all the mental stresses, the anxiety, the depression, all of that stuff, we saw it in our patrons coming in every day. And it probably summarized best in one of them that came in that said, this is the one place, the one day that I can go and feel normal. I can escape, you know, all the stresses and things that people were going through everywhere. And I think that's maybe if the one lesson, the silver lining in all of this is, while we got to do some renovation work that we probably couldn't do that, you know, for 7 hours when we were on 7-day-a-week operations, but we were able to get done. But the staff was really important to us, and we had to help them get through the wickets with the unemployment, and they helped us as well. So that relationship really, really important. You know, going
All right,
forward.
Tony, I'm going to pause you there, Tony.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into silver linings with everyone else, okay, in just a second.
Okay.
But on your screen, it looks like I was able to pull up the link that's in your chat button. So again, if you just click on that, and you can type anything you want in under arts and culture. You can like things that other people have added, and you can do this anytime throughout the week. But instead of us sending like a follow-up survey or anything like that, we're just trying to kind of gather what people have learned from that. So again, just click on that link in the chat button. So challenging for sure, but you're all resilient, and I'm already touched to hear the stories in the different perspectives. So let's move on to silver linings, and we'll let you kick it off again, Lisa Marie.
So I'm a forever optimist. So I love this part. I think one of the silver linings for arts and culture in general, not just specific to us, but in the broad sense, is prior to COVID, arts and culture, recreation was always seen as the luxury.
Mhm.
You know, that was always after all of these needs are met, then we can focus on. So therefore, it was always the first thing that if it needed to be cut, it was cut. You know, funding was cut, resources were cut. Now, all of us that are involved in the arts, culture, and recreation understand the value and the benefits that we bring. And I think the biggest way to point this out, and I came across this, and I just have to share this. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anybody familiar with that? It's a triangle like this, okay? And it's basically states that we move from one level to the other, and it creates this pyramid. And so at the bottom is physiological needs. So that's breathing, food, water, you know, the basic needs, and then safety, and then the feeling of loving and belonging, and then self-esteem, and then self-actualization. At the very peak of that, once all of those other things are met, then we can be creative and spontaneous, and we can become problem solvers. What I realized through this process, actually, that turned upside down. So without creativity and spontaneity and problem solving skills and the acceptance of facts, we were never going to be able to meet the needs of physiological needs of our community and society. And I think that's where arts and culture and recreation has been highlighted, and understanding the importance of that especially as Tony was saying, mental health and wellness. That's huge. That is creativity. Our industry is huge in supporting and facilitating and bringing together in creating a white space where people can come together at a common level and just share. And this is where, belongingness comes from. This is where creativity and ideas for promoting economic value and prosperity within your community comes from. And I really think that is the biggest takeaway from all of this is the highlight of how important arts, culture, and recreation really is in our society. And another really great thing is just a personal story within the organization. So technology was a real issue, and because the organization was kind of forced into using technology and learning, there was this fear of using it. And now that we've used it, there's a certain demographic within our organization and volunteers that have actually embraced it, and they're excited about it. And we've had the opportunity to see them learn skills that they're translating in other areas of their lives. So it's kind of helped them move and progress into embracing technology, which is not going away. So this way, they're not being left behind. And so that's been really exciting to see them as they move and grow, can connect to each other. People that are typically isolated, even outside the pandemic, they've been able to connect, and they will be able to continue to connect and just kind of benefit from everything that the arts and culture brings.
It's exciting. Yeah, GACO is definitely a shining star as far as embracing technology and trying new things. So great job there. All right, Tom, silver linings.
First, I just want to thank everybody for doing what you do for our community. Tony, I know that my heart lies with continuing to help veterans and stuff, so I appreciate everything you guys are doing, especially them dealing with their mental health issues that we see often with veterans. So keep doing the good work there at the Bowling Alley, Tony. Silver lining here at the Parks and Rec. We always try to look at the positive of things, and I kind of touched base on it when I first talked about our financial situation. So to kind of piggyback and kind of go backwards a little bit, when I took over in June of last year, the thought process was we're probably going to lose about 20% of our revenue. And revenue, I know we're funded by a millage, but we also look for that money coming in from the parks department or the county park to obviously help offset some of our costs. And a 20% loss that we were looking at was going to be a huge factor for us. But once we were able to open up, everybody wanted to get out and about, and I'm sure we all can attest to that people are getting pretty antsy being stuck in their houses. So as soon as they were given that opportunity, they took full advantage of it. And I can tell you at the end of last year and this past fiscal year that we budget for a certain amount of camping fees, and even being 103 days short of what we normally are open, we exceeded that budget range. And so that was, to look at the positive of things, that was a huge positive for us, along with obviously being able to give these community members an opportunity to get out and enjoy the outdoors. Coming in this year, we're looking to continue being able to do more events out there. As of right now, according to the orders, the fly-in is going to hopefully happen this year. Obviously that still has to be discussed at a higher board level, but it's looking good to put on more events for us. Talking financially, we we have already hit for the 2021 camping season. We have already hit our budgeted amount before camping season has even started. So that has been something that has been a positive for us. But we just are looking to serve our community in any way we can through Parks and Rec, and we're all trying to take a negative aspect that we've had to face and turn it into something positive. And we all have different ways we're turning it into positive. But I feel we're doing a nice job here, and the support of the community is overwhelming.
Bruce.
Yeah, silver linings, there's definitely a lot of them. I think with theater, in person is very important, however, because as a actor or as an actress, you really need the energy of that crowd, whether it's laughing or whether it's clapping, to increase your performance and to make sure that you are in the moment. However, at the same time, with some of the streaming options for Cathedral players in general, Debbie Roberts, who used to be a big person in the community, and Betsy Spear, who used to be the English teacher at St. Mary, both had the opportunity to watch Penny for Your Thoughts online, one from Chicago and one from Ohio. And both of them watched it multiple nights. So seeing the kids react when they knew that Mrs. Roberts was on or Mrs. Spear was on, or that their grandparents from Florida or their stepmom from Arkansas was on. We, in our 3 streaming shows that we did for Penny for Your Thoughts, hit 18 states. So to see people from states away, thousands of miles away, get a chance to see their grandkids or their nieces or their nephews, definitely means a lot, because it's not something that they get to see all the time. And yes, it's not perfect situations, but my mother, who lives downstate, normally comes up to see my granddaughter, and for her to be able to see her granddaughter and her son working the lights, or her son directing and her grandson working the lights for that show, meant just as much to her sitting on her couch in her house as it did for her to be up here watching that in person. And I think that's one thing that we have to embrace, and we have to, as directors and theater people, figure out a way to increase that energy if our crowds are lower, if we do have less in-person type stuff. It also allowed my kids to learn how to help enunciate a little bit more, because it's a lot harder to understand people with a mask on. So as a theater director, it was like, yay, that's kind of fun. I get to teach this a little bit more, and they actually understand what I'm talking about now. So there were little things like that. And to see some of the kids step up and say, no, Mr. Udell, you can't do that this way. This is how you have to do it from a streaming standpoint, or this is how you have to connect. I'm just turning 50, and I am not technologically sound by any stretch of the imagination. So to have a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old take a little bit more ownership in some of those shows to make sure that it was happening how they want it to, or the lighting was correct, or so on and so forth, means a lot as well. And those are some of the things that I think each of us from a theater standpoint gets to look forward to. Not necessarily within the community, but the writers and the producers and the publishing companies of all these theater shows being able to say, you know what, let's take a little bit less and make the option to stream, because it never used to be an option. And they realize that, yes, not everything's going to be in person anymore. So yes, it's a way to make money, but it's also a way to reach more people by allowing some of those rights to be done online and to be streamed and that type of stuff. So, you have to reach out to them and look at Broadway and what they're doing to try and get through as well, and just sort of relate that to smaller level. To see each of these kids step up and become leaders and I think each of us probably spent a little bit too much time streaming something on Netflix or Amazon Prime or so on and so forth, Hulu, whichever it is. And we know that, yeah, theater is important in high school. Theater is important and music is important in high school. Those are things that we wouldn't be able to stream Netflix or we wouldn't be able to stream Hulu if some of those kids didn't pick up the acting bug in high school. You know, all of today's high school kids are going to be tomorrow's stars and are going to be the next big thing on Broadway or in the movie theater. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to spend millions of dollars on each of them, but entertainment is something that all of us needed during this time. And they weren't essential workers for us. But I think each one of those times that we sat down in front of the TV to get a little bit sense of normalcy or listen to our news anchors or so on and so forth, each one of those came out of a theater program somewhere down the line. So those are the silver linings to me, is that maybe as administrators and volunteers and community members, we see that, you know what, it's every bit as important as athletics. It's every bit as important as some of the other things out there. It teaches community, it teaches teamwork, it teaches togetherness. It teaches someone like me how to do this in front of, 10 people, or to stand up in a work environment and talk in front of 1,000 people. So it is something that's used later on in life. So those are the important things for me.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. So Tony, you started to touch on silver linings, but do you have other silver linings to add?
Yeah, I guess I'll just reiterate a little bit what was said earlier, is that the whole idea of Maslow and there's mission, essential, and what you got to have and what you can do without. I really think whether we're going to learn it, I'm going to say consciously or not, unconsciously, we've already learned the lesson that those things, the old arts, the recreation, the fitness, the mental health aspects of all of that is just as important, maybe even more so important than anything we realized before. And I think people already have recognized that and are executing on that. As was said earlier, our open bowl play right now is as strong as it's ever been. And they don't necessarily, I think, comprehend it, can't put words on it. Maybe that's our job today, but they understand they're there because they need to be there, because it's that important to their well-being. And I think that's the benefit Arts and Rec are going to get out of all of this. Hopefully we can implement it in policies and budgets and stuff in the future, but emotionally people are already there. And I think that's the one thing that I don't think even us that were involved in it or are involved in it even appreciated well enough. And I think everybody is coming to that understanding that that's really important to our everyday lives.
All right, so we're getting ready to move on to the final question, which is future outlooks. But I just want to remind you that if we have time for questions, we want to give panel members as well as audience members a chance to ask questions. And if you could just help us by putting those questions in the chat, and then we can call on you. So even right now, as we're going through future outlooks, if you have questions, you can start putting them in the chat. And everything you've shared is so important. But as we look to the future, this idea really came up, and I should have mentioned this in the beginning. We have many donor advised funds, which is a type of charitable fund where people look to us at the Community Foundation to see where the needs are in the community, where the opportunities are. And we're hoping to share these conversations with our donor advised funds, whether they're on the call today or we can share the recording with them. So as we look to the future, what do we see in the future that we want to share with people in the community who care? Lisa.
For Gaylord Area Council for the Arts, it really is going into the community and reaching that broader audience and bringing the arts to them rather than waiting for them to come to us reaching out to them, and coming up with different programs and ways to reach those individuals. And I know it was touched on already, but during this time, we really want to continue to offer hybrid programming to do that, because we did as well see our programs connect individuals across the United States, family members coming together to do art activities. And it was phenomenal to see our receptions that we moved to virtual online. We had one individual actually from Czechoslovakia reach out, and because we had one of our local artists that did a pen and ink of Prague. So making those connections, I think that's really going to be our focus, and how can we make them stronger and bring the benefits of the arts to everyone. And I just recently learned, because art is not my background actually, but I just recently learned that Monet was one of the first artists to actually bring the benefits of the arts to the everyday person. So he was actually the artist that was known for taking it from the aristocrats and making it available to the masses. And I think that's where we are. We want to make sure that the arts and all of the benefits that are associated with it continue to move forward, and that we can offer it to our citizens, especially up here, and bring them opportunities to engage in the arts in a stronger, greater way.
Tom, you're still on mute. There you go.
I had to step away for a second. Can you explain, sorry.
Yeah,
can you
the
explain
future
what we're looking-
outlooks.
Just a future out with the county park,
Yes.
just in general?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a lot of great things planned here at the County Parks and Rec. Lewis M. Grown Nature Preserve, that's out in Joburg. We are in the process of, and we're a couple days away from putting out bids for a new pavilion that's going to be put out there. And so we are hoping that'll be done mid-August. And so we're able to open up the new entrance that is off of Heatherton. So we are really excited about this pavilion and bathroom facility, as this will, like I said, be able to allow us to open up our new entrance there. And, you know, the things that we are going to in the future be providing out there is pretty exciting for our community. So hopefully within our next, our 5-year plan will be out, so people are known here in the next couple of months of what the futures holds for the Grown Nature Preserve. At the county park, I know we have quite a bit of repairs that we're looking to do to campsites in the next year and a half. We have, unfortunately, this past summer had a major flooding issue out there with campsites. And so we're going to be looking to do a lot of repairs to that. We have set aside a certain amount of money to do so. And I'm in the process of writing a grant through the DNR to help cover the cost of those repairs. But it's pretty significant. It's a pretty good amount of money that is needed. But we feel that this is something that the community truly loves, is within our county park and camping. And, we did make sure we're providing the best facilities that we can to make their vacations and their time enjoyable while they're out there. So, we do have a lot of good things happening here at the park. Obviously, we all have trials and tribulations that we're continuing to go through and are going to continue to have to fight through until, all of this is done. But, I'm just excited to have this opportunity to be part of this group and this discussion, and, just to hear everything that everybody has had to go through and what they have or how they have overcome everything is pretty touching. And, you know, we just need to, as a community, just continue doing great work.
Thanks, Tom. Bruce.
Future outlooks, I think, are both positive and also very scary. You know, from a high school theater program, we've essentially missed 3 shows, which at that point in time, the money that's brought in from ticket sales is what keeps us going on to our next show. And to convince people that it's okay to spend the money to stream, or almost as much money to stream as it is to see it live, is kind of a difficult challenge. So at that point in time, it's a little scary. We don't have a lot of support financially from the school, because obviously education is very important and their #1 priority. So we do count on our benefactors, and we do count on people in the community. So, you know, just to get back out there when we can get back out there, and feel free to come to a show and know that we will keep it safe. You know, those are our future outlooks. We have to, as Ed McMahon used to say on Star Search, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. But that's essentially what we have to do, you know, because that's where we are at this point in time. We have to dream big, and I don't think any of us will disagree with that. And it's just, it's difficult financially from a community theater and from a high school theater program, to miss 3 shows and then to pay for the rights for the next show, basically. But we will get by. We have some wonderful benefactors, and we look forward to producing our next show. We won't be able to do another show this year, but we will be doing one in the fall with the new school year. And then obviously for community productions, hopefully Shrek in the summer gets to go on, and we see a lot of you out there.
Thanks, Bruce. Tony, the future. Looks like you're unmuted. Yeah, you're good.
For the bowling center, you know, to the degree finances will allow, renovations will continue. We have plans to put a pavilion in outside of the lounge as soon as the snow breaks and the weather breaks. Will allow us to kind of do things outside. We already have a large area, volleyball, horseshoes, and cornhole and things like that outside. We will be bringing, you know, music and live entertainment out there as well. But you know, I think going forward, the biggest issue is that understanding that we have 5 senses, and technology, even as we get into the old 3D and everything, you can't replace a hug. A high five is real, you know, to be able to smell and all those things that you do in person are not going to go away. And I think hidden in all of this is where we're going with our interactions. That human beings are social creatures, and we ignore it at our own detriment. And those hugs and those smells and all those things that you get, the rewards from accomplishing a goal and a competition, are very real. And I think they're not going to go away. And as much as we may say, hey, we've changed the way we work from home and those kinds of things with technology, coming together is not going away. We know that required really for our health, for our own well-being. And I think maybe we at the end of this we even come out stronger in that. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because one of the things, we're in this together, and we need each other.
Yes. Well, Lisa Marie, Tony, Bruce, and Tom, thank you so much for sharing your stories. There are no official questions in the chat, but for those listening. Maybe panel members have questions, comments, anyone. We've got Lisa Jarsky, Eric Klink, Paul Hartman, Greg Watling. Any comments, thoughts?
Well, I'm down in Florida right now, so I had a little problem getting connected, but I was very impressed. I appreciate each of the speakers and what they've given us, and we wish them very continued success in their endeavors.
I just wanted to say thank you. I thought it was very informative.
Lisa Marie, did you have something? You're raising your hand. Oh,
I just wanted to take a moment and thank Otsego Community Foundation and all of the funders and what you do. I think many of the nonprofits would not have survived this past year if you hadn't been there for support, even if it was just encouragement or to bounce some ideas off or yeah, so kudos to you.
Greg, it looked like you took yourself off mute, so I feel like you might have something to share.
Just that I'm very brand new to town, less than 6 months. So this is really helpful to get me to know what's going on in town. So thank you all for all the good information.
Yes, welcome. And Greg is with the First United Congregational Church of Christ of Gaylord. Did I get it right?
Close enough, Dana. That'll work.
Okay. All the right words, wrong order, right?
Right. But
Okay.
we're where the community meal is across the Alpine Grill. Yep.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
Dana, I'll just add that I think when this is all said and done and all the panels are in, your ability to pull them all together and pull the common threads and all that and get it to our leadership, whether they be local, state, federal. I think those findings are really going to be important going forward. And I think you're in a unique position. I think you're leading right now. I don't know how many communities are doing something like this, but this is really, really important.
Oh, thank you, Tony, so much. Eric, did you have something to say? You're on mute. I just saw you raise your hand. Let me see if I can unmute you from here. Oh, Amanda, can you see if you can unmute Eric in the top right corner of his? So while she's trying to figure that out, there's a little box in the top right corner of his.
There I am.
There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Bowling Center for the Kiwanis and youth probation program we're doing with letting the kids come in there, do community service and mentoring with them when they're there. That was my only statement.
All right, so then just in closing, again, even after this throughout the week, if you can save this link and go put your thoughts together, this will help, like Tony said, us pull these things together. Not everyone's going to watch all 6 hours of the 6 recordings, but hopefully we can share these comments. So again, you can like things, you can ask put additional comments. Yeah, be kind, but be honest. We want to hear all. So yes, it's been challenging. Again, you've been so resilient. And I know I learned a lot, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you for joining in, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the week, and we'll be in touch. Signing off. See ya.
Thank you.